My bully sister obtained my grandmother's money, which my parents forced me to pay for her company. After I exposed her dishonesty, they stopped paying my college studies. I, a 17-year-old girl, felt obligated to give my older sister the money I had inherited from my grandma a few months before so she could follow her business dreams. Despite being 6 years older than me, my elder sister Connie has always ridiculed me because she seemed to hold a particular vendetta against me. In reality, she harasses me just because she can. She is aware of this, because she has. She's been doing it since our childhood, therefore she'll get away with it. When I complained to my parents about Connie's treatment of me, they told me I was being overly sensitive and repeatedly advised me not to make a big deal out of it. I realized that my parents were misleading me into believing that my elder siblings' acts were ordinary, and that I had no reason to be upset. However, I can guarantee you that Connie was considerably worse than the other elder siblings since she did not joke around with me and her abuse of me was not little. Naturally, as we were. When I was younger, she would continually try to pull me down with her cruel words, and my parents would tell me to quiet down but never confront her despite the fact that she was the one making me cry. Even while that was terrible in and of itself, at least it was just uttered. But there was one particular incident when I was 13 that made me realize Mom despised me, not just hated me. That is, Connie had brought a couple of her friends along with her as my family and I traveled to the beach. She was 19 years old at the time, and had just returned from college for the weekend. She was spending all of their time with her friends, so things had gotten extremely unpleasant for me, because it looked like her friends despised me as much as she did. They must all. I presume they have the same mental disorder that prompted them to resent others who had done them no harm. In any event, they'd been making fun of me, putting me down, and laughing the entire time I was there. I was sitting on the pier alone, with my feet hanging over the water, since I had become tired of them and wanted to take a break from them. I felt a plastic bag being thrown over my head, followed by a kick in the back that led me to tumble into the water. It took me a few minutes to figure out what was going on, but when I did, I saw my sister and her friends laughing and running away while I played in the water. Fortunately, I am a good swimmer, so as soon as I recovered from the shock of it all, I swam as fast as I could back to the beach, keeping the plastic bag over my head. I began crying when I returned to my parents, since it was the most terrible thing that had ever occurred to me. My sister and her friends tried to portray what had happened as a light-hearted practical joke, but the worst was yet to come. My father, who had always been a complainer, actually laughed with them, telling me that I was overreacting. They said that nothing would have happened to me. My father even joked that all those swimming lessons might eventually pay off. Because the plastic bag they had placed over my head was so small, I could have choked to death. Furthermore, I may have drowned if I hadn't swiftly realized what was going on and pulled the bag off my head. Even though so many things might have gone wrong, they all seemed to find it humorous. I was fully aware that I wasn't my parents' favorite daughter. However, that event stayed with me, and I resolved then and there that I would no longer consider any of these people as family. I couldn't afford to trust any of these people, so my primary goals were to perform well at school, get into college, and then leave. I've kept my distance from Connie since then, but I can't exactly treat my parents as. I feel the same way since I have to live with them. I didn't want to give up the money I had inherited 3 months prior, but I had to appear to be kind to them, which was one of the reasons. After my father's mother, my grandmother, died over a year ago, the bequest was finally presented to us 3 months ago. She has moved out of her previous house. She handed my parents the most of her money, leaving Connie and me with $5,000 each. However, she also gave me a sapphire ring that she had since I had told her once how much I appreciated it, and she had joked about me being able to take it when she died. I meant to save aside a large amount of it for my future. However, my parents later informed me that Connie was. She was planning to start her own firm and needed to raise as much money as possible. They relied on me to continue aiding her, even if they were already doing so. Because it was her business, I didn't think it was fair that I had to contribute. Not to add that she has always treated me cruelly. Why am I meant to aid this individual now? Even after we clashed for a few days, my father threatened to withhold my college fees and ban me from going home if I did not help her. I declined. I ended up saying yes since I was terrified of it, and was already frustrated with the situation. I was under a lot of pressure to make a decision that was maybe not the greatest one. I also had midterms. Coming up and having to study, I didn't think it was worth it to keep battling with these folks. I chose to give up my inheritance because I needed some quiet time and to avoid my parents nagging me. Finally, they allowed me to keep my ring, most likely because they were ignorant that it was a genuine sapphire owing to the will. All my grandmother had described was the blue stone ring. I therefore grasped what she was saying, and because it was important, I was intelligent enough to remain silent, which worked out nicely for me. I concluded the dispute by handing up the $5. grand I inherited from my grandmother. After 3 months, I earned entrance to the college of my choice. I will start work in a few weeks. My parents are maintaining their word, as promised. They will cover any expenses I have, including tuition. They will also cover all of my expenses as I will be living out of state. Giving up my $5,000 may not have been such a bad investment after all, as I won't have to worry about money during college. For me, everything has been going well, and it still is. However, I feel bad about what I did because my sister hosted a launch party a few days ago to celebrate her store's formal opening. She works with the same college mates. I was pals with the ladies who pushed me into the sea with a plastic bag over my head because they thought it was hilarious. Though the things in their massive shoe and accessory company are rather simple, the three of them believe they have done something new because they find such sweetness in their designs. In any event, I already know that their buddies would shop there since they have a lot of yes men who agree with them on everything. My sister texted me a lot of images from the launch party, so I kind of shoved it in her face, but there was a chance she may have had a successful career ahead of her. It's clear that I was not invited to the party. They informed me that I had not been invited because I was 17 years old, and the event was for adults only, therefore they could not bring me along. Even though there was a bunch of nonsense, I wasn't interested in going. But the day after the celebration, Connie emailed me a slew of images, saying she wanted me to enjoy the incredible party she had hosted yesterday through the photos. Then, in an arrogant move, she demanded that I give up $5,000 for her, claiming that she couldn't have done it without my support. I don't know why, but it began to bother me. I went directly to my gallery to confirm my thoughts after observing the guy in the pictures. He was just in the background of a couple of the photographs, so I couldn't tell whether or not they were dating based on the images. He may have gained weight and grown out his beard, but I could tell he was her high school ex-boyfriend. Though he was just 25, this guy, let's call him Simon, began dating her on her 18th birthday. He and I attended the same high school. In reality, he graduated considerably earlier than Connie, and the two of them met online when she was just 16. He asked her out on her real 18th birthday, which I thought was strange, but Connie found romantic. Fortunately, at this point, my parents acted like nice humans and warned her that they did not approve of her seeing someone who, despite being in his 20s, had been waiting for her to become 18. They did not want her to go out with him, but she reportedly disregarded them and continued their hidden relationship. He was working for his father's company at the time, but they had to break up after just 8 months of dating since he was heading to Wyoming to work on a farm with his uncle after it was rumored that his father had caught him trying to steal from the business. She went home to encourage my father to obtain him a job here so he wouldn't have to do what his folks required of him and allow himself to be transported out to Wyoming and smash things. They caught up with her, and our parents discovered she was still with him. She was distraught. However, my father rejected her advice. He made her pledge she'd never talk to him again and would block him everywhere. That day had utterly upended our household since, on the one hand, Connie was appealing with our parents not to force her to quit her connection with him, while also promising them that he would be better. My mother, on the other hand, was always crying as my father chastised her for defying them and dating this obviously horrible person. It goes without saying that nobody involved me in anything that day, and I was told to remain in my room and do not leave. However, I elected to follow him on social media since I had heard his name frequently. When someone causes a ruckus in your home, you tend to recall their face. As soon as I noticed him skulking in the background of her photos, I decided to wreak revenge on Connie. Connie and my parents had been quite open about the business around me, because they didn't consider me family. I knew her friends' parents had been tough to persuade, but my own parents didn't need much convincing. Since the other investors are so ignorant and unskilled, I feel it would be. It is difficult to locate more investors. For the most part, they were convincing their parents to join the firm. Still, I was confident that the final person who had been waiting for this business proposal was her friend's mother, a single mother who was unsure if she should invest so much money in a shoe and accessory firm. To avoid ending up in a bad investment situation, she wanted her daughter to get a job, work for a few years, acquire some experience, and then return to this. Connie had been grumbling a lot about this girl at home. But she and her friends were determined to make it work. In the end, they decided to make do with what they had for the time being, and that their third friend's mother would contribute money if the business took off. That was the deal they had struck, and in order to keep it, they needed to make sure the first few months of their business partnership were a huge success. Their capital was just enough to cover them for a few months. However, unless they are able to produce enough money to sustain themselves, they will almost certainly require another round of investment. However, in all honesty, it seems impossible that a company strategy would break even this rapidly, particularly considering their small size and the challenge of getting into the fashion business. I was aware that the parent who had been holding out until now simply needed one excuse to cancel this agreement. And I was aware that this approach may work. I made a false account to contact her and requested that she call me because I needed to discuss something important with her concerning her daughter's firm. I made sure she called me using Facebook call, not providing her my phone number since I wanted to remain anonymous. She was confused whether this was true, so I guess she had to wait many hours before calling me. But ultimately, I suppose her curiosity won out. Then I informed her everything I had seen, including the identify of the individual who was discreetly shooting photographs in the background of each image. I explained to her that my mission was just to warn her, but she first did not believe me. She was free to determine whether or not she wanted to continue investing in this firm after this. After that, I stopped the call on my own, sent her a few old images of Simon and Connie, and left her make the final choice. I believe she decided to back out the day after I made the phone call, and she even urged her daughter to do so. Things have gotten extremely serious. Nobody knows that I was in any way responsible for this. However, Connie has been calling our parents to ask them to meet with the mother who withdrew and encourage her to reconsider. Her pals are also upset with her since she looks to be back with Simon, hid something similar from them. However, she had fabricated his identity so that no one could recognize him. Even our parents are not very fond of her for this. In other words, she has a lot going on in her life, and everyone is upset with her. And while I genuinely want to enjoy everything, I can't seem to force myself to do so. I understand how significant this business was for her, and now I wondered whether I was being too petty and if my behaviors were inappropriate. A few hours ago, I overheard our parents discussing how furious they were so angry with her that they were considering withdrawing their investment in her firm because she had abused their trust. They almost never get upset with her, so this is quite odd. And something doesn't feel as good as I expected it to, so that obviously indicated troubles for her. So, AITA for tormenting me as a youngster and attempting to get a potential investor to withdraw out of my sister's business. Update 1. Hello everyone. I appreciate you taking the time to read my post and offer good advice. I believe all of you are accurate. I may have been too morally secluded to appreciate this, but I'm being responsible and won't discuss what I did. They would surely kick me out of the house if they discovered I was the one behind all of this. Furthermore, I will turn 18 in a few months. Nothing will prohibit them from taking such action. I can't afford that because they pay for my schooling. Since my last piece a week ago, Connie's situation has deteriorated substantially as the mother who had backed out of the deal pushed her daughter to do the same. At this point, it is just the two of them. However, her other buddy is unhappy with her and insists that they divide the firm's 60/40 shares since she no longer trusts Connie after discovering this hidden lover who embezzled from his father's business. She introduced Simon to them as the man she had been seeing for a few months after meeting him on a dating service. She was trying to hold to that story, but no one believed her when her friend's mother revealed the truth. She even tried to pass off the images as legitimate, alleging that they had been photoshopped to make her look dishonest. She has seen our parents almost every day. While they have punished her for her conduct, they have also continued to try to help her. Every single night. The three of them meet with their attorney to try to devise a strategy to ensure she does not lose her part in the firm. If they are unable to reach an expedient settlement, it is likely that they will be forced to close as a result of this situation. To be honest, I have opted not to think about it at all. I'm not sure how I'll feel about it. I can come and go whenever I want and basically do anything I want because no one is paying attention to me anymore. Connie is in trouble. That is the only good thing to come out of the situation. It is lovely. It has clearly reduced my level of attention. Even when Connie comes around, she is too consumed with her own situation to pay attention to me. My parents say nothing to me. This is how I'm spending my last few weeks at home before leaving for college. Thus far, so good. I don't have to answer to anyone about my everyday routine. Furthermore, I doubt my parents or Connie will notice if I spend more time at my friend's place than at mine, even if I just leave for a few days. That being said, as I stated before, this is the one positive consequence of the circumstance, and I hope they leave me. I will be alone till I am ready to register in college. In addition, I'm crossing my fingers that my parents' decision to support my educational expenses is unaffected by this situation, something I hadn't given much consideration to previously. But it struck me while I was writing this post. If it happens, I'm going to be in serious trouble. I will, however, take comfort in the fact that Connie is in worse shape than I am. Update 2. It has been around 2 weeks since my last update. Furthermore, nothing big had occurred to me until last week, so I assumed I was secure. But now I don't believe it. Nonetheless, a few days ago I believe the woman I had called gave in to the pressure and revealed to Connie the exact way by which she had learnt about this past connection. She didn't tell Connie the whole tale, she just informed her that she discovered out after someone phoned her anonymously and emailed her a couple photos. Connie is not disguising the fact that she knew him, was formerly in a relationship with him, and did not fully end things. Nobody is actually dumb nowadays. and it's now well known that the photographs were genuine, and she didn't meet him through any dating app. When she learnt about the anonymous phone call, she immediately thought of me. I was quite unfortunate to be downstairs when she came to see us yesterday because I had planned to go hang out with a friend. But as soon as she recognized me, she stormed inside and shoved me as hard as she could. I pushed her back, losing my balance and rage in the process. She grabbed my hair and started shrieking in my face, stating she was convinced I had made the phone call and threatening to make me responsible for my conduct. I wanted to hold to the fact that it wasn't me, even if I was afraid, but I couldn't express it on my face in case she learnt the truth. I became upset and shouted at her, telling her that it wasn't me and that I wouldn't even know who to talk to, because I had only met her friend's parents once, at a lunch gathering, a few weeks before the business opens. I was lying through my teeth, of course, but I tried to make it appear convincing. We yelled at each other for a few seconds until our parents intervened and told us to stop fighting. Connie then urged that I let her and my parents go, claiming she didn't believe a word I said, and that I had shattered her ambitions of being a great entrepreneur. I knew this was coming, so I mentally prepared myself with my phone and laptop, but I still threw a tantrum since simply saying yes would appear suspicious. However, as I had totally cleaned all of my devices of any information that would have identified me as the caller of the anonymous call, I had nothing to worry about. Furthermore, Connie was absolutely incorrect in believing that I had phoned her friend's mother from my phone number rather than a Facebook account I had created just to communicate with her friend's mother and later deleted. Furthermore, despite reviewing all of my social media accounts, she and my parents were unable to find anything. She became really unhappy with me and began yelling, claiming that I had purposely destroyed all of my devices and that she knew it was me. She could not locate any proof to back up her claims that I had told her friends about her past with Simon. I argued with her, telling her that she had no right to take it out on me and that she had gone nuts and she was going to lose her business. I thought I was secure. But then my parents decided to talk with me and told me that, while they couldn't find any proof to back up my allegation that I was the source of the information leak, they still trusted Connie since she seemed so convinced about it. Furthermore, if they had seen Simon at the party but were unable to identify him, no one else would have known. As a result, they cannot have been the cause. That means it's just the two of us, because Connie contributed. Those photographs with Simon in the backdrop are just to annoy me. And it was clear that I may have taken offense, and then everything happened just as I had feared. They informed me that they were canceling their plan to pay for my college education because they were certain it was me, even though they couldn't find any proof. They didn't want any more arguments over this, so I was on my own now. It was then my turn to sob and yell, but because I wasn't Connie, no one seemed to notice. I ultimately walked back to my room after screaming, yelling, and weeping for almost 30 minutes with no response from them. I shut myself in and started writing this update as a distraction. I could sell my sapphire ring. I still have the money my grandma gave me, but I'm not sure it will cover my 3 years of college. With only a few weeks till the payment deadline, I'm considering taking out a student loan and requesting a member of my family to act as a co-signer. Furthermore, I am unable to take any chances whatsoever, even if selling the ring helps me pay for the first semester. The rest I'm not sure about, I'll have to figure it out later. Version 3. Hello everyone. A lot has transpired since my previous article. Since I haven't posted in a month, allow me to start with sharing my experience. A few days after my previous article, I moved out of my parents' house since I had no reason to stay or communicate with them, now that they were no longer paying my college education. I packed my possessions and moved in with a friend. She invited me to move in and live with her and her family after we had already discussed everything. She was on a gap year, and after a few days of living with her, she and her parents informed me that she had absolutely no interest in attending college and wanted to begin working at her father's firm. I could utilize her parents' college fund. They had reserved it for her, but only briefly. I made an attempt to say no. However, they persuaded me since her parents were well known to me and stated that sending their own daughter to college would be an equivalent expenditure. I accepted their offer since I was in no position to decline. I'm going to make sure I repay them, even though I know they don't expect me to. I'm grateful to my pal and her parents for allowing me to stay on campus without having to sell my grandmother's ring. Connie's story did not end well either, as she sold all of her friends became the sole proprietors of the shop when she sold off the company's equity. It was evident that no one could fully trust her anymore, so she had to accept defeat and go on. Unfortunately, my parents were helpless to stop it because it was completely out of their control. Because she was the one who came up with the idea in the first place, she's undoubtedly upset, but she should be relieved because I don't think the business will do well long term. That is none of my concern, however, because I no longer speak with them. For the time being, I'll concentrate solely on my future.